I'm Marilee Woodhouse, and we are standing next to Canyon Creek, which is a tributary of Battle Creek. We're standing in the headwaters. The headwaters are just right up there a little bit. It's where it comes out from underground and becomes surface water. Well, our group is Battle Creek Alliance, and it was founded because of all the clear cutting in this area. It's close to 20,000 acres in probably about 65,000 acres. That's kind of an approximation. But our goal is to get the governor's office to look at it because the cumulative impacts haven't been being assessed properly. They've been doing it very piecemeal in small amounts, and that's against the law. By law, there's the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA it's called, and that requires that cumulative impacts of projects, of any kind of projects, not just logging, but any kind of projects, you have to do the cumulative impacts, which are the impacts of all the projects, not just of the one project you're working on, but the projects that are adjacent to it, that have been done in the past, that are proposed to do in the future, because that's where a lot of trouble comes in. Sure, you can maybe do one project and not have a whole lot of impacts from it, but when it accumulates with the rest of the projects, that's when it becomes a big problem, and that's what hasn't been assessed here. So a project in this case is a timber harvest plan, a THP they're called, and they typically in this area are around 1,000 acres of cutting at a time, and within those 1,000 acres they're 20-acre units, or approximately 20-acre units. They change, between 14 and 25 acres usually, but they're an average of 20-acre units that are cut, and they're cut in a relatively close space. By law, the units can be only separated by 300 feet, and then the areas in between are left uncut. But SPI's self-expressed plans are to come back within 5 to 10 years and cut the areas that are left between the clear cuts from before. So in this area, basically the north and south boundaries of the Battle Creek watershed are Highway 44 to the north and Highway 36 to the south. And the way that the cumulative impacts have been allowed to not be done for the entire area is they've subdivided this watershed, this part of the watershed, into 9 separate watersheds by the tributary creeks of Battle Creek. The definition of a watershed is an area that drains the water, the surface water, and it all flows downstream to somewhere else. In this case, it would be the Sacramento River. And so when they've taken this watershed and divided it into those 9 sub-watersheds, that means that they're not looking at the whole picture, they're just looking at a piece. It's kind of like if you're taking a photograph and you're in a really pretty spot and there's a big old pile of garbage off to the side, and you aim your camera so that you don't have to look at that pile of garbage. It doesn't show up in the picture. So anybody else that looks at that picture is not going to see that there was a big old pile of garbage there. I mean, that's, it's changing the focus to where you're avoiding the stuff that is really there and you're just not paying attention to it. We want to change the logging practices to, certainly the main thing is to get the cumulative impacts actually looked at instead of avoiding them. And then also, certainly our ultimate goal is to stop clear cutting as a practice. We've never said that we wanted to stop logging. We just want to stop this excessive amount of clear cutting and the use of herbicides on the land afterwards. There's a huge amount of herbicides used as well, because what happens is either before they cut or after they cut, they put the herbicides down to stop the native growth from coming back, so only the replanted trees will grow, so they don't have to compete with other things. So those are our main objectives, that's really it. But that's the other thing is, what's really interesting about this particular spot is, here are the headwaters of this creek where it hasn't been cut, and then across the road is a clear cut and a seasonal drainage where it has been cut. And so the difference in those today, in the summertime, which usually in the summertime it's much cleaner than this, but this summer it's not. But the difference today is across the road in the seasonal drainage next to the clear cut, the reading of turbidity units, NTUs, was 14.2, and right here where it hasn't been cut, it was 0.80. So I don't even know what percentage that is higher, but it's a lot. I'd have to use a calculator. So it's a big difference in just, 50 feet?